Viruses. Viruses consist of chains of DNA with 200 to 2000 bases called viroids. Viroids are dressed in a protective protein coat, and in some cases they are encased in a protective envelope of lipids. They are free-roaming DNA pieces without a nucleus and without a cell to provide it machinery to burn fuel, to break apart and rebuild organic molecules. The average virus is about 1/100th the size of the average bacteria. Viruses are the most abundant biological entity on Earth, and their biomass exceeds the weight of all other living organisms combined. A teaspoon of seawater contains about 1 million viruses. Most of them are called bacteriophages, destroying only bacteria in aquatic microbial communities, and are harmless to fungi, plants, and animals. There are millions of different kinds of viruses found in almost every ecosystem on Earth. Viruses do not have their own metabolism, the power system to break down organic matter for energy and to use it to construct organic matter to grow. Without this energy system, they are like a capsule of medicine and cannot do anything more than float around, land on a cell, and hopefully get absorbed. Viruses, like seeds or tanks with empty gas tanks, are helpless until anchored to a fertile place to penetrate and start to live, grow, and reproduce. Like teenagers know too well, how the viruses are dressed and their shapes are important deciding factors if the virus gets accepted or rejected by the cell it lands on. Like teenagers, viruses are extremely selective in the host cells they use. They usually choose only one type of host cell in one type of organism, leaving all other cells and organisms alone. The shapes of viruses range from simple helical and icosahedral forms that make spindle-shaped structures and hooked rods, teardrops, bottles, to even more complex structures. Enterobacteriophage T4 has an icosahedral head bound to a helical tail with a hexagonal base plate with protruding protein tail fibers. This tail structure acts like a molecular syringe, attaching to the bacterial host and then injecting the viral genome into the cell. Helical viruses form a helical structure with a central cavity or hollow tube. Most viruses choosing animal host cells are icosahedral. A regular icosahedron is the optimum way of forming a closed shell from identical subunits. Some species of virus, like influenza and HIV, are like spies. They envelop themselves in a modified form of one of the cell membranes to avoid detection and to gain entrance to the host. HIV evades the immune system by constantly changing the amino acid sequences of the proteins on its surface, just like computer viruses do. If viruses land on a cell which does not recognize them to get rid of them, that cell has no immunity for these viruses. The viroids get absorbed into the host, and, as if waking up from a long sleep, they start to get alive. They use the energy and machinery of the host to make multiple copies of their viroid and to dress them up in full armor with protein coats, and in a process called lysis, break through the host cell, damaging it in the process. When too many cells get killed this way, and they all belong in one organism, then the virus ends up killing the host organism. Examples of common human diseases caused by viruses include the common cold, influenza, chickenpox, and cold sores. Some viruses, as if hibernating, cause no apparent changes to the infected cell. Cells in which the inactive virus is latent or dormant for many months or years show few signs of infection and often function normally, as is often the case with herpes. Some viruses, like Epstein-Barr, can cause cells to proliferate without causing malignancy, while others, such as papilloma, are established causes of cancer. Many serious diseases such as Ebola, AIDS, avian influenza, and SARS are caused by viruses. Some viruses can cause lifelong or chronic infections, where the viruses continue to replicate in the body despite the host's defense mechanisms. This is common in hepatitis B and hepatitis C. People chronically infected are known as carriers because they serve as reservoirs of infectious virus. In populations with a high proportion of carriers, the disease is said to be endemic. When outbreaks cause an unusually high proportion of cases in a population, community, or region, they are called epidemics. If outbreaks spread worldwide, they are called pandemics. Because viruses take cells as hostage, they are difficult to eliminate without damaging the host cells themselves. Vaccinations, whether given naturally to babies by house pets or injected by doctors, provide immunity to infection. Dead or weakened strains of the virus are used in manageable amounts to train the cell to defend itself by being able to recognize the virus and act accordingly on time. Antiviral drugs, which selectively interfere with viral replication, can be used as protection against certain virus outbreaks. Plants have elaborate and effective defense mechanisms against viruses. One of the most effective is sacrificing cells around those already infected and isolating the virus, which needs live cells to reproduce. This stops the infection from spreading and is seen as large spots. Animals rely on plants to live, and plants rely on the bacteria to live. Bacteria, on the other hand, do not rely on any organisms, and without the virus to keep bacteria in check, bacteria would overwhelm nature and drown out all other organisms. Fortunately, most viruses coexist harmlessly in their host and cause no signs or symptoms of disease. Fortunately, the organism's immune systems offer an effective protection against viruses. Fortunately, most viruses choose bacteria as the host of their choice. Thanks to viruses, we live in the beautiful balanced nature we experience.